Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada, we love you. In Africa, the Big C tribe, but there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful May the 31st, 2019. Grando Deportes, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charlton, what a wonderful day for the sporting world of baseball. We have the College World Series regional games going off in the men's bracket. We have the women's tournament kicking off in Oklahoma City. And Major League Baseball is in full swing with attendance down.
Yeah, that's wow. I mean, it's you don't have to sneak in now. They're trying to get people to come in and sit for free in some of these stadiums. And I think you talked about the solution, which means it most likely will happen in the next couple of years. Stop playing every day of the week. Give people a chance to miss you, and that way it might taste better the next time around. You can't eat the same thing every single night. Man, them good old boys in Canada, our home and native land, they really showed out. I was happy for Canada last night. And as much as I'm a West Coast guy, but they showed how you should celebrate before and after a game. I really thought that was great. A lot's going on in the sports universe. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, just tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars. I just want to say, as we always are very mindful of what other people go through, Big C, I know you had brought up that people have crisis going on all the time, and you talked about the number of veterans who are dealing with issues in this great country, the land of the free and the home of the brave, but a lot of people are having some issues. I want to get about an 800 number. It's free. 800 number. Call if you need some help. It's 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Also, for those of you who like to text, 838-255. Text 838-255. Big C, why is that so important to you? Your thoughts?
But Charlton, it's so important when we think about the crises that go on in America every day. Everybody's always talking about how things are tough for them and all that, Charlton. But when we think about our 19 million veterans here in the United States, Charlton, that deal with that crisis every day because of what they've had to go through, Charlton.
Yeah.
But not only that, Charlton, we need to look at our law enforcement. Our law enforcement personnel across the United States, Charlton, also deal with the same stress disorder that our military personnel did.
Yeah.
You know, you think about last year, Charlton, in this great country, you know, the law enforcement has taken such a bashing through the media and people protesting and everything else about various issues.
Yep.
Last year in America, Charlton, 187 law enforcement officers took their own lives through suicide, Charlton.
Wow.
Think about that catastrophic number. 187 officers took their lives, Charlton, after being out in the line of duty protecting others because of the stress of the job. Stress is a real serious scenario that we have in this country. And when we talk about post-stress disorder, it's not just on the battlefields somewhere around the world. It's on the battlefields of the streets of America. What officers have to deal with every day, Charlton. They have families, they have loved ones, but they have to go out and put their lives on the line every day, and they haven't had someone to talk to. So that same number that you gave out, 800-273-8255, is there for everybody. It's a national stress hotline, Charlton.
Yeah.
Please don't hesitate. If you know somebody who might seem a little off kilter in any kind of way, don't wait until it's too late.
Yeah.
Make the call, make the text, get someone help, get someone counseling, because that person you save could be someone that you love.
Yeah, and I love the fact that we do this, and we hope that more sports shows will start doing that. You know, we have this great reverence for the military. I remember even at a high school game many, many moons ago, we were in a big stadium for a high school all-star game, and I would never forget, in fact, I can feel it. I think there was an F-15 fighter jet that flew slowly over the stadium, and that good old boy pointed straight up north and hit the afterburners, and it shook the stadium. And the crowd roared, Big C. Because our military, it keeps us safe. But when some of our military people come back home and they have some trauma going on, PTSD, they have issues, and they need help. And I hope that we can cheer when the airplanes fly over. I remember my very first Super Bowl down in San Diego, Green Bay versus the Denver Broncos, and they had the F-2 bomber that, I mean, it flew over, but you couldn't hear that thing. It looked like a big black bat, and it just flew over the stadium, and the crowd down at Jack Murphy Stadium erupted, Big C. We need to erupt when people need help too, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, we do, Charlton, and we need to lend a hand and an ear to those who have helped us stay safe in this country, Charlton, whether it's abroad or whether it's on the streets of America. Don't turn your back on those people that are in need. Stop protesting against those people who are out there saving your lives when you call 911 when you have a problem.
Yep.
You don't call the people that are protesting with you up and down the street if someone breaks into your house or terrorizes you. You call 911.
Yeah.
And those people come without hesitation, Charlton. So don't hesitate in helping those people and thinking about those people every day, Charlton, that wear the blue in this country.
Yeah.
And wear the blue across the water and the green in this country and across the water also, Charlton. Those are our lifelines in America.
Yeah.
Our civil servants, police officers, and military.
That's very true. Again, my father served in the Air Force. I've had a brother serve in the Army and a nephew serve in the Marines. So kind of covered almost everybody, Big C. But I just appreciate everybody who understands that veterans are important. I also want to do another. I know people want to hear who won the game, and if you can Google who won games. But for our fellow Americans in the Midwest, the storms and the flooding, all the way from Louisiana up north through Arkansas, the Arkansas River is cresting already. People in Oklahoma City up to Missouri, and even up into near Chicago and Nebraska, Omaha, Nebraska. A lot of things going on, and people need help. I know they can also reach out for, everyone says call 911, but that's mostly for emergencies. And I hope that people can get help too, and just check on your neighbors, because they can't, oftentimes, especially elderly, they can't check on themselves. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the devastation in the Midwestern part of the United States has just been atrocious, and there's even more rain coming up and through Sunday. When you think about some of the hard-hit areas, Charlton, where levees have broke, rivers are over the crest of their dikes, Charlton,
yeah,
that America needs help. And not only that, Charlton, we're hours away from hurricane season down in the Gulf.
That's right.
So when you think about the devastation that occurred in Florida last year during the hurricane season and what we get in Louisiana on a regular basis, Charlton, the devastation is not going to stop anytime soon.
No.
And I wish that our administration would aim more at helping Americans instead of hurting Americans.
Yeah.
Concentrate more on the relief of devastated people who voted for them and saying all of what they were going to do for them, Charlton. You think about the farmers whose land is underwater.
Yeah.
They already could not sell their goods because of these tariffs that have been imposed.
I know.
Now those crops that they had in storage are lost because of the rain.
Yeah, and that's a big issue too. So hopefully, if we could take your mind off of some of that, but we don't want to be ignorant and act as if it doesn't exist. So we still ask people to reach out and get help. 800-273-8255 or text 838-255. Big C, there's some good old boys in Canada. I don't know what the like California is known for wine country. There has been a lot of whining in Northern California, and I'm one of them. I'll admit, Golden State went up last night. I mean, no one has a crystal ball. I felt, and I even mentioned it, that if Boogie Cousin plays, it's going to cause a problem for the Splash Brothers. And people can say, well, they need him, and everybody has their opinion. But all I know is he couldn't get up and down the court. He couldn't help in the transition, even though he's a good passer. I think Kerr messed with that chemistry. They had won 8 out of 10 games, and now you want to get everybody involved, but Boogie's not even 100%. He got in a lot of foul trouble. He missed some easy shots, and he got fouled a couple of times. But when the ball in his hand, it's not the Splash Brothers' hands, and I think that cost him, as well as a guy named Siakam. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it cost him in many ways, Charlton. When you think about Boogie Cousins entering this game, Charlton, this is the first time in his professional career that he did not have a rebound or a made basket from the field in a game in his professional career. He got points at the free throw line, Charlton, but he was non-productive on the floor for the Warriors. And you think about, you have a big man on the floor, you need his presence around the basket. Siakam took complete advantage of his presence being on the floor. I mean, at one point he hit 11 consecutive shots.
Amazing.
Paul Gasol had 20 points, Charlton. Boogie Cousins, as you said, hindered the momentum of the Golden State Warriors more than what he did to help them.
Yeah.
I could see if you'd have put him in for some late pickup minutes, Charlton, in
Yep.
the game, but as the game was being integral and he could not be effective, it was a bad chemistry disruption to the Warriors lineup, though.
Yeah, and I recall just following, I mean, you've watched many, many more games than I have, but I remember watching track and field. There was the U.S. Olympic track and field trials back in 2000, I believe, and that was up in Northern California. And I remember they had Tom Hammond was doing the play-by-play for NBC Sports. And I remember Louis Johnson was there also as a commentator. But you think about players that want to perform. And I remember Carl Lewis was in the press box, and he was banging on the press box, and Hammond was saying, you know, not with his voice, but stop it, stop it, stop it. We're live on the air. And you had Carl Lewis, you know, banging on the press box because he wanted Johnson to win. And all that meant was he interrupted the flow of the broadcast that did fine without him. But because Carl Lewis is an American icon, they thought it would be great to have him in the press box, Big C. But he interrupted the broadcast. At the end of the day, he didn't care because it's like, hey, I'm Carl Lewis. But the NBC broadcast is more important than having a guy banging on the press box. And I thought that's what happened last night. They wanted to pay homage to Cousins, but it was like Lewis, like we said before, guys banging on the press box and someone being on the court interrupting the flow. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, the biggest thing from the Warriors, Charlton, they just never got in sync.
Yeah.
When you look at what they were doing. Here it is, Toronto was playing with house money. They had home court advantage.
Yeah.
So they came out and played carefree.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when we were talking about the NHL playoffs, is that Boston had too much time off. It was going to take a while for them to get back into the flow of things against St. Louis.
Yeah.
We saw the same thing in Toronto last night. The Warriors had 10 days off.
Yeah.
There's a difference between practice momentum and game momentum.
Yeah.
Toronto had just gotten out of a hard-fought series with Milwaukee.
Yep.
So they still had their adrenaline flowing. Golden State was trying to find a way to get themselves picked up. You could see it just in the movement, bringing the ball up and down the floor. They seemed to be sluggish.
Yeah.
They seemed to be without motivation or, you know, urgency throughout the game. And, you know, they always kept feeling that they could shoot themselves out of whatever hole that they were in.
Yeah.
They never played great defense at any point during the game, Jonathan. It seemed like Toronto got to the rim at ease anytime they want. I thought Kerr made a huge mistake by not inserting Bogut into the game instead of Cousins.
Yeah.
At least Bogut has been active throughout the playoffs. Cousins hasn't been around for 15 games.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you got him in the lineup and he's trying to catch his rhythm.
Yeah.
But the Golden State Warriors have to find a way to plug up the middle because everybody from Toronto got to the basket with ease. Whether it was Van Fleet, whether it was Lowry, whether it was Siakam, even you got, you know, Gasol getting 5-6 foot little jump shots in the lane.
Unguarded,
because you had no defensive presence.
Yeah.
So that's the major adjustment that Golden State needs to make. Now, this team can shoot with anybody, but you can't keep giving up the points. But on the other flip side, Jonathan, we saw this in the Milwaukee-Toronto series.
Yeah.
Where we saw Lopez come out and score a season-high 29 points for himself. He hadn't scored that many points in the previous series combined. Will he be able, as Siakam did, scoring a career-high 32 in a playoff game, will he be able to repeat that performance, or was that just a one-time mirage that everybody saw?
Yeah, most likely a one-time mirage. But I also want to credit Toronto also, because whenever, and you talked about this many times, when you do anything for the first time, whether it's, you know, driving a car, a bicycle, or if you're in an MMA fight for the first time, and you're against somebody who's already won. They usually call those guys sparring partners. You know, the guys that go in and get beaten up around just so the champ can feel comfortable. And I thought that Toronto did it very well. Kawhi Leonard really was not that much of a factor the way he normally is. So I thought he's gonna give you what he gives you. But it was the bench players that came in for Toronto and they scored. And there was a time when Golden State closed it to it within about 4 points. And then Toronto went on a run. I know we love Iguodala, but he was missing his threes as if he was throwing them into the fans as opposed to throwing them into the basket at 3 times. But you don't expect that. I think he still has a hitch in his giddy up. I know he's going to go in game 2, and that's fine. But do you see that also? It was Iguodala that they can normally count on wasn't hitting at Big C, along with Cousins coming in and stealing minutes from the Splash Brothers. Your thoughts?
Well, I saw Steph Curry being the only player for the Golden State Warriors really being productive. Draymond Green, even though he had a triple-double, he only had 10 points in the game.
Yeah.
What Toronto did, Charlton, was goad him into shooting three-point shots.
Yep.
Draymond Green normally takes maybe 1, 2 on a busy night, a three-point shot. He shot a multitude of three-point shots. Toronto got him off of his game.
Yeah.
When you think about Toronto's starting lineup, Charlton, they scored 99 points. 76 of those points came from players other than Kawhi Leonard. He only had 23 points during the game, Charlton. They only had 19 points off of bench production.
Yeah.
So it was the starters other than Kawhi Leonard who really carried this lineup. When you think about Gasol having 20, Siakam having 32, that's 52 points from your front line. Just two guys on your front line, Charlton.
Yeah.
Danny Green knocked down some key three-point shots. But you saw Golden State leaving players wide open. They seemed to be a little discombobulated defensively in the game.
Yeah.
I saw that the officials were letting a lot of things go in the game. I mean, there were some hard fouls on Steph Curry that wasn't called by the officials. They got physical on him. And that's what you have to do to Golden State. If you plan on winning this series from a Toronto perspective, is that you have to stay physical. You're not going to be able to keep up with Golden State speed-wise. But if you be a little more physical on them, they're going to tire and wear down in the game. And that's what Toronto did in Game 1. They got physical and wore down Golden State.
Well, you said that had to happen, and that's what happened. So I think the NBA is in a really good spot because Canada, not only did they have a beautiful national anthem, I mean, sometimes you take things for granted. In here, we hear the national anthem, and people clap and cheer. I love when they come to the Bay Area and someone like Jeffrey Osborne does it, or just someone who can really sing. But what they did last night in Canada, I thought they set the whole stage, the electricity, and having the crowd it was like they were doing it for their own kids, even though it's for that team. So, great game last night. I want to get your thought on something, because I'm really proud of Draymond Green, who comes under a lot of verbal abuse from other people saying they're tired of his antics. But someone had a question to him last night, and he said, I want to talk about the game, not the thing with Drake on the sideline. And I thought that showed great maturity in Draymond, because oftentimes Draymond's the one that's running his mouth a lot to get under an opponent's skin, but he doesn't go into the fans do it. I mean, I just want to get your feeling. And the media tried to make it like it was a scuffle or some type of garbage. It was not, Big C. Just your thoughts.
Well, the thing with Drake, I mean, that the league has let this go overbound.
Yeah. With
this, they're allowing Drake to do the things that he does and the antics as far as getting in a player face. We saw the league, and we've seen teams remove fans from arenas for those type of antics. Regardless of Drake's status in the public as a superstar, he's still a buying ticket fan.
Yeah.
And when you cross the line as far as fans and player interference, you have to be disallowed in an arena.
Yeah.
And I think by the NBA allowing this to occur, the NBA is an advocate allowing Drake to do this.
Yeah.
And they should punish him by not allowing him in the games. And I don't have any personal dog in the fight.
Right.
I'm just looking at how you treat all fans, regardless of money. If a fan has stepped over that threshold, Charlton, he has to be ousted. But when you look at the media perspective, trying to egg on a little battle between a fan and a player, that's out of line. But that's how lack of mentality that the media has nowadays. They can't concentrate on the game.
Yeah.
You have the media asking a question about a fan's interaction.
Yeah.
They should have been asking league officials. They should have been asking Adam Silver or his deputy director of the NBA. What about this? That's a question for the league's office, not for a player in a press interview. Now, if the league allows this to continue, I don't know how you could ever come back and fine a player again. Russell Westbrook got fined $25,000 in Utah for a fan calling him a boy and him reacting to it.
Yeah.
What are the NBA officials going to do to Drake? Are they going to call technicals on the Toronto Raptors when Drake gets up and bothers with a player? That's fan interference.
Yeah.
That fan in any other sport is exited out of arena. If you're a baseball player and a fan comes over and gets in your face and crosses that line, he's out of the arena.
Yeah.
Football, same way, Charlton. They exit him out of the arena. So why does Drake get this pass to be an agitator?
I think he tried to start a beef with Kendrick Perkins. It's not the right guy you want to fight. And there's also the days of Ron Artest when he had the issue with the fan. All it takes is a snap. You say the wrong thing to the wrong person, and your bodyguards aren't there to help you out, you're going to get a beat down. In fact, if guys want to get a beat down, all they got to do is just get into a ring, and they can do it for charity, but have a real fight. I mean, a lot of guys...
Look at Oracle Arena.
Yeah.
Every major rapper in the Bay Area sits courtside at Oracle Arena.
E40 yeah.
is at every Warriors game.
Yep.
Super fan, just like Drake.
Yeah.
But he sits there and he plays the role of a fan, Charlton. Not a cheerleader, of a fan. He buys a seat, and he makes sure that his butt stays comfortable in that nice plush seat.
Yeah.
Drake, you might as well put some pom-poms and a skirt on him, Charlton, at the game.
Yeah.
I mean, because what he is doing is crossing the threshold of what a fan should be allowed to do.
Yeah.
Take the name of Drake off of him, Charlton, and see what the NBA or the arena would do to him at that point.
Yeah, I think Richard Pryor said it best. He had a skit where he talked about Jim Brown, great football player, and one of Jim Brown's friends was drinking too much, that liquid courage. And he was telling how Jim Brown, he's going to beat up Jim Brown. I'm going to, let him go. I'm going to hurt Jim Brown. And Jim said, gentlemen, I think if you let the man go, he could express himself a little better. That's if they want to put Drake in the ring with one of these guys that could beat him up in about 2 or 3 punches, they could do that. It would be great for charity. That's my opinion, Big C. But also, speaking of charity, and I want to just say congratulations to Toronto. That's the first ever playoff win in a championship final series. That's the first time. That's how important that game was. I do feel that if Kerr was just put Marcus Cousins on the bench, play him the last 2 minutes before halftime, or maybe the last 2 minutes before the fourth, but don't start him. You get off the blocks slow, it's going to hurt you. There's a fight coming up because people want to fight, and it's happening this weekend in Madison Square Garden. Anthony Joshua, he's going to fight Anthony Ruiz Saturday night in Madison Square Garden in New York City. Now, why are we not seeing Wilder fight with Joshua? I think they're robbing people, and they got to do it because the public's going to pay. But that's not the fight people want to see. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, boxing always has to have a build-up. Wilder just came off a first-round knockout a couple of weeks ago, Charlton, so it takes a while to get back in the ring.
Yeah.
The thing about all these title belts that they have in the heavyweight division, Charlton, is that no one wants to consolidate them. You make more money by having a belt than fighting for a belt.
That's right.
So none of these guys want to fight each other. They're going to dodge each other as long as they can.
Yeah.
Until boxing says we have to have unification fights, Charlton, or you're going to strip, you're not going to get these super fights in the heavyweight division.
Yeah. It's a lot like, silly analogy, but I make them all the time. If you were to have the AA Eastern Conference champion and the NBA Western Conference champion say, we don't want to play each other yet. We got to go back and play some other guys that we know we can beat, analogous to what boxing is doing. But could you imagine what we're seeing right now? Ali never ducked anybody the way Wilder and John ducking each other. Ali fought Frazier a couple of times. He fought George Foreman. In fact, he made George Foreman retire. He beat him up so bad. You think about Liston, Tyson Holyfield, they even fought twice. And Mike Tyson knew he could not beat Holyfield if it went more than 4 rounds. And he was right, so he bit him. But he also quit on one of those fights too. But he still had the courage to fight him. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, that's what boxing was. It was a gladiator, glamorous sport of America that everybody wanted to have a part of it in all divisions. When you think about boxing in the 80s and 90s in America, in the 70s, Charlton, it was the spectacle of sport. The NBA was not what it is now. It was something that was played, after the late news, Charlton, even in the finals, never prime time. When boxing was in its heyday, it was America's sport because the heavyweight champion of the world was the most recognized person in the world.
Yep.
You talk about basketball players and football players, and everybody know who basketball players are around the world. Half of the world doesn't even know who the heavyweight champions are right now in boxing. But in the 70s and the 80s and even up until the 90s, Charlton, the entire world knew who the heavyweight champions were, and they were generally Americans.
Yeah, they were generally Americans. And the fact that our champions now, they have so much money. Unlike some of the fighters 15, 20 years ago, you could fight for $1 million person. It sets you up pretty good. Now you got guys that won't fight for less than 10, 15 million. And then you look at what Mayweather did with McGregor. I mean, we hear so many different stories about how much money was made collectively for that fight. But that was guys from a different sport. MMA versus boxing wasn't the same skill level. But I would think, and I think you already talked about it, but how do you penalize fighters for not having those fights, Big C? We could talk about unification. There are no more Don Kings making fights happen. How do we make that happen? Your thoughts?
Well, like I said, you have to strip somebody of the title. There used to be mandatory title defenses against the top contenders in boxing. Now it seems like it's not there. The governing bodies of boxing seem not to have the power that they once wielded in the sport.
Yeah.
Because I know you always had to fight, as I was growing up, the number one contender. He was always in line for the next fight.
Yeah.
You had to fight them. The money was there for the money that they were making during those days. But no one now is fighting the number one contender. They're fighting the number 5, number 6, number 12 guy.
Yeah.
You know, the guy that they can get into the ring to keep their record going.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen, other than Wilder and Fury, that's the last time I saw 2 heavyweight champions fight, and it ended in a draw, and they haven't been able to negotiate a rematch.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I just hope they can solve that, because everybody's missing. Everybody's missing out just because we have people who duck each other, running and ducking and hiding. It's not going to help the sport at all, even though it's been challenged a lot too by the world of the MMA, and we know that's going to be there for a long time, because it's hard to go anywhere and not find people who don't want to get beaten up. It just seems to be the hottest thing. What a bargain. Do you have those bar fights down south, Big C, like we have in California? Your thoughts?
They have the bar fights. They have the street crossing fights,
Yep.
stuff, and there's fights in the park.
Yep.
That's part of Americana. That's part of world misery.
Yeah.
Is that people have the inkling to want to fight people, to want to beat people up.
Yep.
You think about it, Jonathan. It starts in kindergarten. Little
Yeah.
kindergartners
Yeah.
hustling in the playground.
Hustling
He
somebody
goes
for
around
money.
school. I remember growing up. We knew not to get in trouble.
Yeah.
So you'd always schedule a fight after school when there was a disagreement. You walked
Right.
3 or 4 blocks away from the campus.
Yeah.
There was an area that had grass and trees, so if somebody got knocked down, they didn't get straightened up.
Right.
First person got hit too hard, the fight was over.
Yeah.
So that's always been a part of the animal characteristics of men.
Yeah.
To go out and try to dominate somebody else, and that's why the MMA is so successful. Because you see man or women out there fighting, Charlton,
Yeah.
and they're fighting with the bare necessities. There's basically their feet. They can kick, that they can elbow, that they can almost bite somebody,
Yeah.
and it's legal.
Yeah, that's on. Well, we don't advocate fighting. We hope that everybody can figure out the way to talk. I heard a grown man tell me one time, I used to take up boxing and martial arts when I was 11 years old, and I was taught by a guy who had been in some trouble. And I remember him telling us, I'll never forget, he said, I'm going to teach you how to fight, but the best way you fight is with your brain. That keeps you out of trouble, and I hope that young people can heed that warning. And I just know that so much has happened in the sports world. I want to bring up something that's happening down south, but I'm going to do it after we come out of the break, because I think it's important. And you're down south, where you see a lot of things that go on. Sports is so personal for a lot of people, maybe even more so than it is here on the West Coast. What we're going to do is step away for a moment, and we're going to give you what's called the Big C Pause. And after the Big C Pause, we will be back in just a moment. All right, Big C, we are back on the Big C Sports Show after what we call the Big C Pause, and I really appreciate people following Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network, on Apple Podcast, on Google Podcast. You can find us on Spreaker. You can find us on YouTube. You can also find us on Comcast Xfinity. But what I really like is when you walk into the house, if you have that app called Alexa, you simply say, Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast, and you'll hear our sponsors, and then the show will come up. And so thank you, our sponsors, for all of your support. I want to get into something that maybe you disagree with it, because you're one of those Southern guys that you believe in free enterprise, and I understand that. The SEC, Southeastern Conference, they're proposing a designated area for restricted drinking, and at their football games, basketball games, baseball games. I don't think that's a good thing, though. They're saying you can do it at the end of the third quarter for football. You got to stop it then. You got to stop it at the second half for basketball. And then baseball, it's the 7th inning for men's and 5th inning for softball. Now, why is it important, after all the money they're making, that they got to advocate for liquor? You know it's going to happen to some of the minors too, Big C. Someone's going to get sued. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, everybody's always talked about drinking responsible and don't drink and drive, but you can't go to a sporting event if that was the case. And if the SEC is proposing that, Charlton, that means they got to cancel the game between the University of Georgia and the University of Florida down in Jacksonville. That's the world's largest outdoor cocktail party.
Wow.
And I don't know if you've ever been to a game in Baton Rouge, but they start the drinking 2 days before the game with the moonshine.
Yeah.
So, you know, as you're talking about, and this is something that's been proposed all over the country, Charlton, the past couple of years.
Yeah.
About how do you curtail the alcohol consumption at a sporting event. The end of the game is not the problem with the alcohol consumption, Charlton. It's early in the game when the weather's hot. That's what you got to look at. It's normally cooled down by the end of the game.
Yeah.
But early in the game, everybody's coming in from tailgating, where they've started consuming in the parking lot. You can't control that. So by the time they get to the end of the third quarter, or the seventh inning, or whatever, even the fourth quarter in basketball, you know, everybody's already at the point of being intoxicated that they're going to be at. I mean, this is a great public service gesture.
Yeah.
But, okay, if they're going to cut off the alcohol, well, give me double. You know, bring me twice the amount of drinks that I would normally drink.
Right.
Let me start chugging. What you're going to do is force people to consume more alcohol rapidly. That's what you do. If you tell people you're going to cut it off, and I know you've made many last calls in a bar, and you say, well, give me another 2 rounds.
I got Kool-Aid, though. Mine was Kool-Aid, Big C, and apple juice. I don't know about you guys, but mine was
one
Kool-Aid.
of the fruity drinks with the umbrella in there.
Yeah,
okay,
California style.
You call it Kool-Aid. Normally they mix vodka with Kool-Aid. I understand that, John. But you know, that's what's going to happen. If you tell a grown person, we're going to curtail your alcohol, we're going to make it last call in the stadium.
Yeah.
When they say last call, all of a sudden, give me 2.
Yeah.
Give me a double. That's what's going to occur. They may not have liquor sales, but you might have 2 or 3 cups up under your seat by that point, John.
Well, let me get your thoughts, though, because I remember back in the days where it was so dumb. You could be on an airplane, and they would have a smoking section in an airplane, knowing that it causes. I'm not going to try to say anything negative, but you can read the warning labels on a carton. But they allow that. Now they don't allow that anymore because people got smart. So remember the Super Bowl would not do an ad for cannabis because they didn't want to do something that they thought was maybe still kind of on shaky standing, if that makes any sense. Even though Colorado, California, Oregon, Canada.
Well, the FDA has not approved CBD oil, and that's the reason why. I mean, it's legal nationally.
Yeah.
CBD oil is legal nationally.
On the state level.
But all state levels, it's not legal.
Yeah.
So that's what the NFL is on the border about, Charles. You got to understand, they're a 501(c)(3), they're a nonprofit organization. They understand what you can do nationally. Now, if they get sanctioned by a state and that state strips them of their nonprofit status, that owner's not going to pay taxes just to use some CBD oil, Charles.
Yeah, and so we know that is going to be, I'm telling you, I've been seeing it all over the ads, almost everywhere you go on the highways, they're pushing that. And I was just wondering what's going to make someone buckle and say, we're going to try that too. But I know everything's about the court system.
That's called the collective bargaining agreement. We talked about it yesterday.
Yeah.
It expires at the end of the 2020 season. So when the NFL goes back to the bargaining table and the owners are demanding to add 2 regular season games, then the players are going to be demanding the use of CBD oil. At least not be on the banned substance list. And they will start studying that, the NFL. It's going to be a give and take as far as some of the suspension regulations that the NFL has, the use of CBD oil, and the extending of insurance, health insurance. So CBD oil will be on the table at the end of the 2020 season in the NFL as far as the new collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah. Well, now that we're talking about NFL, Aaron Rodgers, he's going to have full control of the Green Bay Packers sideline this upcoming season because of the head coach, Dan LaFleur, ruptured his Achilles tendon today, and he won't be able to stand on the sidelines. Now, I bring that up not because of Aaron Rodgers, but because of the NFL and its push for what a lot of people are banned from or fined for. And we're going to have more and more of that talk when collective bargaining agreement comes up. But I want to ask you, when you tear or rupture your Achilles tendon, is he looking for opioids to ease the pain? Or will he even consider some of those CBD oils that a lot of athletes swear by once they're out of the league? Big C, your thoughts?
When you think about that, Charlton, here's a coach that ruptures his Achilles tendon, and he's 40 years old, which is one of the more major injuries that men over 40 have nowadays that think they can be physically active.
Yeah.
He's going to get prescription opioids, Charlton, after surgery.
Yep.
It's going to be medically administered, and it's going to be legal to take these opioids, which we know can lead to addiction. They're not going to give him CBD oil, Charlton, anything. He's going to get morphine. He's going to get, that's what he's going to get. He's going to get Oxycontin.
Yeah.
To deal with the pain, because it is very painful injury. But that's going to be administered. Does the coach have to take a drug test? That's the most interesting part on how the NFL treats players.
That's right.
Here's a coach that you know is going to be going in taking opioids.
Something.
Will he be drug tested? And I think that the NFL needs to drug test coaches also.
Yeah.
And owners in these scenarios, Doctor, because they're all representing the shield. And the motto is, from the commissioner's office, you have to protect the shield.
Yep.
So if this coach, when he comes back to the facility, you need to be able to randomly drug test him.
Yep.
If he's using these opioids, then he needs to face the same suspension that a player would face.
Well, I want to bring it up because the Memorial Golf Tournament, is underway. And no matter what place Tiger's in, and he shot another round of 70 today, we know when he was going through his pain, just like the coach at Green Bay, he had some things, and he shouldn't have been driving, but he had something that was prescribed by doctors. They just tell you don't drive also. And I know that every player, I think you said there was nearly 70-plus injuries in OTAs alone.
79 had been accounted. Well, we know that Dan just took it over 80.
Over 80.
And he's a coach. He's a coach.
Yeah.
I mean, every day in OTA, somebody's going down, Talker. But you think about that, when we did that story, there were 79 players in OTAs last week that had already been injured, and several of them out for the season. Matter of fact, Isaiah Crowell, running back out there in Oakland. Yeah. He had tore his Achilles tendon.
Yeah. Well, we know they're going to get something. So when Tiger did his thing and went through his pain, public display of asking out for help, like we tell a lot of people to, ask for the help. But when you're rich, help comes to you. Okay? So it's going to take guys who've been through it to talk more about it. In the leaderboard for the golf tournament, you have Kramer. He's in the lead right now. Lee's tied for second, along with Merritt and Spieth. And Spieth is 8 under. I would like to see Spieth get his swing back again. And then Fowler's -7. Of course, there's some other names in there too, but the big names are already out there. Now, what I love about this tournament more than anything, Big C, is I get to hear Jack Nicklaus do the commentating. 18 majors, and he talks so affectionately about Tiger Woods. When Tiger Woods had to overcome a lot of garbage socially just to become one of those golfers anyway. Give me your feeling about the great Jack, and then about Tiger and how he still moves the needle, even though he's probably not going to win this week. Your thoughts?
Well, Jack Nicholson is a great ambassador for golf, Charlton. He is a guy who played the game the right way over the years. He took on all the competitors that came after him, and he withstood the test of time. Yeah. To go out there and set those records that everybody will always shoot for. Yeah. On the golf course. But, the thing about when Jack played also, we did not have social media. No. Social media has affected so many athletes like Tiger and many others, Charlton, over the last 15 years. A lot of it is at fault of the athletes by getting involved in social media. Yeah. By getting on these sites and having these accounts and going out interacting. But social media is always a chase down. You can avoid social media, Charlton. You just got to go to the right places and stay out of certain places. Yes. There's many golfers out there that are at the top of the list that we don't hear about through social media. But because of Tiger's stature in moving the needle and everybody gravitas to him, is that social media is always going to be there in the forefront when it comes to Tiger Woods. Everybody wants to have the story. It's just like with Kevin Durant. Yeah. Everybody wants to have the story of where Kevin Durant is playing. Basically, Kevin Durant has no say-so in it. No. Tiger Woods, he misused social media. I remember when he got into his problems with his wife and all, Charlton. Yeah. Is when he came out and held a press conference telling people he was sorry. Yeah. Tiger Woods should have just came out and said, yeah, I did it. I did it. You talked about it. Yeah. What do you want to do about it? Because I'm going to still live my life. Yeah. Instead of that, Charlton, he came out there like a wet puppy that had just fallen in the pool and couldn't get out. Yeah. And his career has never rebounded from that. I think that was the break point in Tiger's career. When he came out like a scared dog with his tail between his legs,
Yeah.
and kowtown to all the media and everybody else, saying that he was sorry for what he did, even though he was enjoying himself.
Now, I contrast that juxtaposed to JFK. Even though JFK was given too much credit for being a great president, he was anti-civil rights. So how could any person of color approve of him? But it was Lyndon Baines Johnson that passed that bill. But we know he had that relationship with Marilyn Monroe, and he was married. Okay, so it's not like, oh my God, who is this lady in my bed? We all know about the shenanigans. But why?
Well, look at the president and Tiger Woods, Charlton.
Yeah.
There's no video evidence of Tiger Woods having an affair. Okay.
No.
You know, there's none of that. I mean, it's all allegations, even though whether he admit or not admit. You got the president bragging and admitting that he's having an affair. You got everybody coming out of the woodworks and talking about
The lawsuits
that
and
he was
everything.
sleeping with.
Yeah.
And the media's never attacked the president like they've attacked Tiger Woods, even prior to him being the president.
Yeah.
They didn't attack him like they've attacked Tiger Woods. We've just seen Robert Kraft down in Jupiter, Florida.
Isn't that something?
You know, caught on videotape.
Yeah.
You know, dealing in prostitution and human trafficking.
Yeah.
And you know, the media hasn't attacked him.
No.
So when you think about how they've attacked Tiger Woods before alleged sexual exploits, and everybody else has gotten a pass, that's personal. That's not about sport, Charlton.
That is so interesting. They hang out in the same circles. But let me ask you a question. As a man of color, Tiger Woods has access to everything that POTUS has access to outside of Secret Service, and everything that Bob Kraft has access to. And you just brought up something that's very interesting. And this is for every man out there. Some men have girlfriends. Some wives have boyfriends. And they all know they do, so they can pretend they don't. But people are not stupid. But why is it with Tiger Woods' situation that he is the only one that people made it seem like, oh my God, can you believe what kind of person he is? He was a lot like a lot of the men that lived in biblical times that had wives and concubines. But why does a black male have to go through counseling for it? Robert Kraft's not going through counseling for it. Donald Trump's not going through counseling for it. I don't know what happened with Matt Lauer, but those were sexual assault. They committed crimes. Tiger was not a crime. Why was he treated like the criminal, and the white guys treated like, well, it's just what boys do? Your thoughts?
Because Tiger Woods did not have to pay for it. But Donald Trump had to pay for it. Robert Kraft had to pay for it. Tiger Woods did not have to pay for it. And that was a sour pill to the media, is that how does he get away with not having to pay and the other guys have to pay? That people were doing this with him willingly and free of their own volition.
Yeah.
And yet these other guys had to open up their checkbooks and take out their credit cards.
Does race have anything to do with it, Big C?
That's what it had to do with it, Charlton. Well, he was a minority that was getting something for free that a white guy had to pay for.
Yeah.
It was the white guys talking the stories on the sports shows, or on the news,
Yeah.
Charlton. They were the one delivering the product to the public, making the public listen to it.
Yep.
But as much as we've heard about Robert Kraft, him going in paying for sex, soliciting sex, Charlton, in a massage parlor,
Yeah.
on videotape, as much as we heard the Access Hollywood tape on the president, we
Yeah.
have the photograph with the president with Playboy bunnies and porn stars,
Yeah.
and checks that he's given them to pay them to keep quiet about what he was doing with them. We never heard that about Tiger Woods, and that's what bothered the media more than anything else. It wasn't that Tiger was doing that, and they know all these others are doing it.
Yeah.
It's that Tiger was getting it for free, and they had to pay for it. It's just like going into a restaurant and oh, Mr. Wood, don't worry about it. Whatever you want on the menu,
Yeah.
it's on us.
Yeah.
And you're standing in line behind him at the maitre d', and you're sitting there, how in the hell did he get it for free? And I gotta pay.
Well, I think the first time I started covering, professional sports, you see a lot of things, Big C, so it's not just in Vegas. I do want to...
When I was a player, if I went to a restaurant, I didn't pay for a meal.
Yeah.
If I went to a bar, I didn't pay for drinks.
Yep.
That's the privilege of a highest stakes professional athlete.
Yeah.
When you look at the top professional athletes, Kawhi Leonard right now, if he wanted to run for mayor of Toronto,
Yeah.
he would be elected in
Yeah.
a landslide. He'd get 90% of the votes today.
Yeah.
He probably has not paid for a meal since he's been in Toronto.
Well, they want to give him a
And
house.
most of the rappers either, Charlton, but I know Kawhi Leonard hasn't paid for anything.
Yeah.
He doesn't pay for his car service. He when the limousine comes to pick him up, he's not paying for that. That's free. They happen to happen in the car.
Yeah.
He goes to a restaurant, that's free. They rope off the section so you can't bother him.
Yeah.
This is the privilege that athletes get, Charlton. And most high-profile athletes in America are African-American.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that everybody can recognize.
Well, I know I think there's a lot of men out there, Caucasian men, they have a girlfriend in every city, and they know many of them have already been out there. I'm not going to get into their personal lives the way mainstream did it to Tiger Woods, but for our white brethren, why was it so important again to do that to Tiger when most of them know men in their own company that are having affairs, and women too? It goes both ways. I just wonder, because we have this show called The Bachelor, and I'm ashamed to say I watch it, but I do watch it. It's gripping. It's like every father's nightmare. You don't want your daughter kissing 50 guys, deciding which one she likes, BC, or depending on what kind of dad you are, maybe you do. But why was that made? I mean, Kennedy did it. We've had many presidents that have done it. Look at POTUS. Many guys didn't pull out their wallet to do it. And I still wonder, because Jack said something today, and it caught my mind, because he said Tiger's most likely going to golf for another 10 years. But what Tiger's doing now that he wasn't doing when he was a Tiger on the golf course, he was so focused he didn't care about other people. He didn't care about being friends. Now he's shaking hands, giving high fives. It's as if he's lost that edge. And I think mainstream likes that, but I don't think it's good for his record to keep losing your edge. That make any sense? Your thoughts?
Tiger punked himself, like I said, when he apologized at that press conference for his indiscretions. He punked himself.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, I'm going to show you a different side of me. And he showed everybody a different side of
losing.
When Tiger was winning all the time, Tiger was relaxed because Tiger was being Tiger.
Yeah.
He was enjoying himself. What does the king of the jungle do? Whatever the hell he wants to do. And that's what Tiger was doing.
Yep.
He did not care about his indiscretions because that was part of what made him great.
Yeah.
He stayed relaxed. The edge was off. Now the edge is always on Tiger, because he's fallen into that loop that the media is always watching.
Yeah.
You don't give a damn, you're a grown man.
Yeah.
Do what you want to do.
Do what you want to do.
And that's the day that he tells the media, I don't care what you think about me.
Yeah.
I've already made my bones.
Yeah.
I am who I am. I am Tiger Woods. Just like Kevin Durant told everybody, I'm Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
You know who I am. If Tiger was to ever do that in the media and stop trying to be Mr. Goody Two-Shoes, say, I'm Tiger Woods, you know who I am, Tiger would win more frequently.
He would. You gotta be. Don't be. Those people are not your friends, okay? They're the same people that said, "Yeah, get him out of there. He's a horrible person," and now they want to shake your hand. They're not your friends, anyway. But I think he's had some bad luck since he let POTUS put that noose around his neck, or a medal, whatever it was, for the Presidential Medal of Freedom. What a joke that medal was. Big C, Game 3 NHL Lord Stanley's Cup Finals will be in St. Louis. Now, we talked about what the SEC is trying to do. Missouri, that state has a team in the SEC, in the University of Missouri. But now St. Louis, they also have a lot of bubbly, but theirs is more like gold. And will they be drinking it this weekend, or will the Boston Bruins go and steal 2 from St. Louis? They're better on the road. Your thoughts?
Well, it's going to be interesting. St. Louis is going to be down a man, Charlton, because he had a player suspended for hard checking in the last game against Boston.
Yeah.
But, and I'm always bothered about that in championship series when players get suspended. Let's take that over into the next season.
I agree.
Don't stymie a team, Charlton. Don't short man a team in a playoff series. We saw that happen with the Golden State Warriors when Draymond Green got suspended against the Cleveland Cavaliers. That suspension should go into the following season.
I agree.
And I'm wondering if that's going to affect the St. Louis Blues, because the NHL, I know they always want the Blues to win something, but they feel that they're better served by Boston winning, by having the tradition in that market and the dominance in the Boston market. I like the Blues like many other people, Charlton. You always root for the underdog.
Yeah.
And it's great, especially with all of what's going on in the Midwest right now, Charlton. The flooding that's going on there in the Arkansas River, in the Missouri area, St. Louis area, Charlton. Those people are being devastated, just like with Katrina years ago in New Orleans, and the Saints were the uplifting beat for that region, the entire state. What the New Orleans Saints did by winning the Super Bowl, it would be great to see the St. Louis Blues being able to do that. Bennington needs to have an outstanding game, Charlton, tomorrow night for the Blues in goal. The Blues outshot the Bruins in last game 38-27.
Yeah.
They need to put the puck on goal again in their first home game, Charlton. They've never won a home game in the Stanley Cup playoff. You think about that. This is their 4th appearance, and they've never won a home game in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yep.
So if they can break the ice on the ice tomorrow night, Charlton, what an uplifting thing for the NHL and the St. Louis Blues.
And I think the problem is people don't normally drink beer on ice. So that's the problem, the Blues. I just hope they find a way. It'd be great for the city of St. Louis, with, like you mentioned, in Missouri, with all the weather issues, and the St. Louis Cardinals left and went to Arizona for football. The Rams came from L.A., went back to L.A. for football, and now all they really have are the Cardinals, and then the Blues it's their greatest hope right now, and I hope they get that done. I want to just jump on to another thought, because with the NBA, would you believe that they fined the great Doc Rivers, I think it was $50,000, for a comment that was made about a player in Kawhi Leonard. And last I heard, he is in the NBA Finals. If you're a commentator on TV, you can't mention the player's name. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it's gotten to that point. I guess because there's been so much talk from the media that Kawhi wants to go play for the Clippers, and by Doc Rivers mentioning his name, it made it tampering. I don't understand tampering. Because my kids have always told me that, Dad, you're not that smart. Evidently, I'm not.
Yeah.
Because tampering, I thought that you had to have intent.
Yeah.
To make a comment, you're a coach or a commentator or a general manager, is that you can't mention a player from an opposing team's name in any way, otherwise you're tampering with that player. Unless you sit down and made a contract offer, I would consider that tampering.
Right.
You made a phone call to the guy, I would consider that tampering. But when you're speaking openly in the media, and here are these commissioners, here it is when you think about Adam Silver fining Doc Rivers, you need to be finding the Toronto Raptors and kicking Drake off the courtside. He can be in the arena, but he needs to be removed from the courtside. What's the most interference? Is it Drake interfering with a basketball game, or Doc Rivers making a comment during a broadcast?
That's very, very salient. And I know that most people like Silver. I think he's done a fair job as a commissioner. We know that Stearns had his making the league look clean, and they got rid of the sag look where a lot of guys couldn't find a belt that fit them, so their pants were down on their knees, and Stearns cleared that up. He said no more of that garbage, and it is garbage because people don't teach their kids some people do, so let me not go into that. But I do think, I believe he was making a comment, and just a comparison like we always do with the great Michael Jordan. So if that's considered tampering, and we have other players, they have this players only broadcast that TNT does. Oftentimes it's players that have already retired, but you gotta say you can't do that anymore. You can talk about anything if you're on the air. Now, if he's at a press conference for the Clippers and saying we want this guy, we want that guy, that's tampering. But you're actually usurping the power of a TV network when you say you can't talk about something. Your thoughts?
Well, you are, and I guess the gray area is that you can't be an employee of a team from as far as administration. Remember, the Lakers were fined and Magic Johnson last year when he made comments about players, Charlton. And so it's a fine line that the NBA executes, and I think it's a bad line.
Yeah.
Because there's many scenarios where the NBA should be doing other things.
Yeah, I agree.
And yet you're making these statements to management, to a coach, about making a comment about a player who is not a part of your organization, that it's offline. So no player, no management can participate in a broadcast with any network if that's going to be the case. And these networks are NBA partners.
Yeah, now this is one more thing I'll add on. When the broadcasters or the sideline reporter coming out of a halftime will say they'll interview one of the coaches, and they'll ask issues about, what are your thoughts on the other team and what players doing whatever, what do you got to cut down on? Now, could you imagine if Steve Kerr said, you know what, we could really use a guy like Kawhi to our team, would he be fine? Your thoughts?
Well, that would be technically tampering. Steve Kerr would receive a fine from the NBA if he said, if we had Kawhi on our team, we wouldn't have any worries.
Yeah.
Or even vice versa. Nick Kerr said, if I had Steph Curry and my
brothers,
we would win by 20.
Yeah.
Those would be fines. And so it's amazing how the NBA reacts to the wrong things, John.
Yeah, I agree. Big C, in the world of basketball also, Johnny Dawkins, he signed a contract extension, University of Central Florida, the coach for the basketball team through 2024, 2025. I think that's a great gesture, and there's a lot of great programs in Florida, but Central Florida doing the right thing for the great Johnny Dawkins. Big C, your thoughts?
What do you think about that, Charlton? Johnny Dawkins is an African-American coach that is getting a contract extension. He played at the University of Duke under Mike Krzyzewski, played as a longtime assistant for him also. He took the Central Florida last year, Charlton, to the March Madness, to the NCAA tournament, which was a great move for the university, and it advanced as far as that program, Charlton. We talked about the dominant programs in Florida, which state has the most dominant programs, and we found out that to be the state of Florida.
Yeah.
And so as you're looking at football, basketball, Charlton, dominating the landscape, even baseball, with the multiple teams the state of Florida has in the College World Series tournament.
Yeah.
Johnny Dawkins, an African-American coach, we just saw when Juwan Howard was hired at Michigan. We talked about how would that change the landscape
Very good choice.
of minority coaches when it comes to college basketball.
Yeah.
Well, the first domino has fallen by Johnny Dawkins getting a contract extension, Charlton, for the next 5 seasons.
Yeah, I remember going back when I played college ball, we would always ask black and white players, we all get along, at least when you have the same uniform on, and oftentimes the field was laden with black men, at least about 70%. But the coaches, they were all white, except for maybe one. And we would always ask, which one of us have a better job of getting a job with the university once we leave here at Big C? I think it's very evident. It's great to see some things happening in the world of colleges where they'll give a black man a chance to make $1 million contract. They help the team become a $100 million organization. So good job to both of those organizations. I want to just ask you real quick before we close, if you pick a college program, which coach has the best personalities? I'm just going to throw a couple out there. Mike Leach, Washington State, he never saw a frown he didn't like. Mike Van Gundy, Oklahoma State, I'm 40, I'm a man. You have Dabo Swinney of Clemson, who's found religion, and he even saw that Christ was African American, and because he has a lot of black talent that helps him win in the South. There's a funny story behind that. The great Jim Harbaugh out of Michigan, he's been pining for a guy like Colin Kaepernick to get back to a championship game. Can you imagine the only time Harbaugh's been to a championship game, he had a black quarterback. Can't get a job, though. Ed Orgeron, LSU, he's never found his vocal cords, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you have distinctive personalities when you look at those coaches. You have philosophers, you have go-getters, you have angry guys.
Yeah.
When we look at these coaches and we talk about personalities, I think probably one of the most intelligent coaches out there in all of college football would be Mike Leach out there at Washington State.
Yeah.
When you think about some of the things that he says, and it's all about personality. It's not about winning and losing, but all those coaches you name have winning records.
Yeah.
Mike Leach is a very interesting man to sit down. He talks philosophy when he's discussing football.
Yeah.
He just doesn't talk X's and O's. He explains life skills and all of those things, how they come into play. So we know that Mike Gundy is a guy who'll get up in your throat.
Yeah.
He's going to yell at you, come after him, attack me. Jim Harbaugh looks like the Nutty Professor walking around in his khakis and black red glasses.
Yeah, untuck his shirt sometimes,
Dabo Swinney is a guy that, he likes to interact with his players.
Yeah.
He wants to have fun with them. At times he wants to go back to being a child.
Yep.
And when he gets in the locker room, he's not afraid to dance and do all those things with his players.
Yeah. Yep.
So, when you talk about these coaches, Ed Orgeron, he's looking for the next barbecue joint. He's the guy that's telling you how good life is going to be as a Tiger.
Yeah.
He's really behind the program that he's in.
Yeah.
But I really like Mike Leach because of the philosophy that he uses in understanding players and explaining it to the media, John.
Yeah, I really think he's amazing. They're all great, and I just... there's so much going on.
That's a win for the Pac-12. You guys won something out there.
Somebody won something, PC, and we needed it too. Hey, Stafford won the Golfers National Championship, so that's good. I just want to say to everybody, enjoy this beautiful weekend. It's the last day of May of 2019, and as we always say, we appreciate the growth that we're having with Big C Sports. You can find the Big C Sports Network on the iHeartRadio Network, on Apple Podcast, on Google Podcasts. You can find us on Spreaker, on Spotify, on YouTube. You can find us on Xfinity Comcast. And what I really love is if you have that app in your home called Alexa, just say, Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast, and then our sponsors will come up with our show, so we thanks for the growth of that. There's a lot going on in the sports universe. I want to just close with this thought, Big C. And I know that sometimes if you are a young person or even an old person, no matter who you are, there's a thing called, stand up in front of the class and then you got to answer the question. Well, they did the National Spelling Bee competition last night, and I think there were 8 people that tied for it and got a grand prize of $50,000. And ironically, all of those kids, except for one, were people of color. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when we think about the National Spelling Bee, I know we always tell people to read.
Yeah.
And we tell people where education will get you in life. Don't sit there and worry about being the next sports star.
Right.
Be the next brain star in America. And last night, 8 young Americans, Charlton, proved that they're the next brain stars in America.
Yeah.
This is the first time in history, Charlton, that there were 8 winners of a National Spelling Bee.
Yeah.
And in those 8 winners, Charlton, all of them will receive the trophy. Each one will get their individual championship trophy. On top of that, they will all receive the award of $50,000 each, which goes to the winner.
Yeah.
When you think about the National Spelling Society, Charlton, and the great dubious gesture that they extended last night, they ran out of words to spell in the dictionary between these 8 young geniuses.
Yeah.
So all of you parents out there who are aspiring to have your child be the number 1 pick in a draft, think about it last night. There were 8 number 1 draft picks last night in the spelling bee.
Yep.
Overall number 1 draft picks.
That's very true. Very proud of those youngsters. As we close out today on Big C Sports, again, there's a crisis hotline, 800-273-8255, 800-273-8255. If you prefer texting, 838-255, 838-255. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, I've been trying to scratch my head all day trying to figure out what went along with 8. I mean, I couldn't find a sporting event that had 8 innings or 8 quarters or know, anything along those lines.
Yeah.
So as I watched this National Spelling Bee, and I want to give a kudos to all those young people last night, Charlton, that was involved, I couldn't even spell 8 of those words.
I tell you what, I couldn't spell a lot of those words either, Big C, but I do appreciate the fact that we can Google. Every time they say, how do you spell it, I just Googled it, Big C, plus they showed it on the screen. That's how much we love watching entertainment. You can find entertainment every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the number 1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number 1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, as we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.